Just before sunrise on April 6th, a loud boom jolted residents awake on Detroit's west side. A neighbor looked outside and saw flames pouring from a parked car. Moments later, firefighters were on the scene. When the fire was out, they made a chilling discovery. 3 bodies inside, burned beyond recognition. By midday, a woman named Elauntra Sutton reported her mother, sister, and 9-year-old daughter missing. And soon, police confirmed her worst fear. At least one of the victims was her child. The investigation quickly pointed to a man with a violent past and a personal connection to the family. Now, as authorities work to build their case, the questions grow louder. What happened inside that house? Why were 3 generations targeted? And will the charges match the crime? This is Under Investigation, where facts lead the story and justice is still unfinished. I'm Sleuthy Lucy, and this is Under Investigation, where we highlight active and ongoing cases still developing in the news. Here's what we've uncovered so far. At approximately 5:50 a.m. on Sunday, April 6th, Detroit firefighters responded to a call about a car fire near Milford and 30th Street on the city's west side. A neighbor reported hearing a loud boom before spotting the flames. When first responders arrived, they found a Chevy Equinox completely engulfed. Once the fire was extinguished, firefighters made a chilling discovery. 3 bodies inside the vehicle, burned beyond recognition.
Right before 6 o'clock this morning, firefighters responded to a car fire in a vacant lot at 30th and Milford on the city's west side.
Once the fire was extinguished, they observed 3 bodies in the vehicle, all 3 burned beyond recognition.
Police working to figure out what caused the fire. Was it intentionally set? Who are the victims? Were they killed, and then did someone set the car on fire?
At that point, Detroit police transitioned the case from a routine fire response to a homicide investigation. The area was taped off. Homicide detectives were called to the scene. A full forensic sweep was initiated. Authorities did not release the names of the victims that day, but the severity of the crime and its deliberate nature was immediately apparent.
Right now, we don't know anything other than the vehicle fire and what was inside the vehicle.
Right now, authorities are asking the public for help with this case.
The Detroit Police Department Homicide Task Force is handling this investigation. We're asking for the community's assistance and help. If you've seen anything or heard anything, please call 1-800-SPEAK-UP, or you can go to DetroitRewardsTV.com.
For investigators, this case was no longer about a car fire. It was about figuring out who was in that car and why they were targeted. Whatever had happened inside that car wasn't an accident, and investigators knew it. While detectives worked the scene on Milford and 30th across the city, Elauntra Sutton was trying to get in touch with her family. She had just returned from a short vacation and was expecting to reunite with her loved ones. But her calls and texts to her mother, sister, and 9-year-old daughter went unanswered. She tried reaching out to friends and anyone who might have seen them, but no one had. Then she heard about the fire.
I asked my daughter's friend if she was there. I called her dad, asked if she was over there, and no one had heard from anybody. Constantly calling my mom, phone going straight to voicemail. Well, no, she just wasn't answering. And then I asked to check my house, to check the apartment that my mom was staying in, and the car wasn't there.
A car, burned beyond recognition, found just hours earlier, not far from where her family had last been seen. The make and model matched. So did the location. By that point, she feared the worst. And when investigators asked for her daughter's dental records to confirm identity, reality set in. One of the bodies was her 9-year-old daughter.
You kind of sit with the reality that it might be them. And today, with my daughter's dental records, they confirmed that it was my daughter in the car. One of the bodies that were in the car. They still haven't confirmed that it's my mom and my sister, but I'm pretty sure it's them too.
Police have not publicly released the identities of the other two victims, but family members believe them to be Elauntra's mother and sister. 3 generations of the same family, gone in one night. With a likely ID in hand and the circumstances pointing to foul play, detectives turned their attention to who had access to the victims and who might have had a reason to do this. That question would lead them to a name they already knew. Here's what we know about how the case unfolded, from the fire to the suspect's arrest, and what's happened since. According to Elauntra, on April 5th, she spoke with her 9-year-old daughter the day before the fire. Everything seemed normal. That evening, communication stopped. Calls and texts to her daughter, sister, and mother went unanswered.
I was on vacation, so my mom and my sister purposely were trying to not to contact me a lot just because that was supposed to be my break. And the last time I was talking to both of them was around 2:30. And the last message I told my mom was my flight was delayed, so I will be coming back later on Sunday. I didn't talk with them that Sunday morning. And once I got to the airport and got back, so with my connecting flight, I had got a phone call from my sister's friend asking if I talked to my sister or my mom, and that made me call them, and that's just when everything just unraveled, and I found out that they were missing, and it's just, my world's just been turned upside down ever since that call.
On April 6th at 5:50 a.m., Detroit firefighters respond to a vehicle fire on Milford and 30th Street. The car, a Chevy Equinox, is engulfed in flames. After extinguishing the fire, they discover 3 bodies inside.
Right now, we don't know anything other than the vehicle fire and what was inside the vehicle.
Yeah, and Camille, this is, as we said right at the top, it's a really difficult one. I suspect that because of where the vehicle was found, there really isn't any surveillance video that captured anything. So that likely is going to be difficult for investigators, too.
Yeah, exactly. But we went out there. You saw the video in the story. It's just a vacant lot. It's kind of a field. It's not even like on the road, so it doesn't look like they were in an accident and maybe they hit something and burst into flames. It doesn't look like that, right? Not a lot of houses in that area. A lot of them, the ones that were, some of them appeared to be abandoned. So, and not a high traffic area either. There were no businesses. We saw a couple churches. So really, police are going to, like I said, have their work cut out for them, and hopefully somebody knows something and does the right thing and calls authorities.
Later that afternoon, as she was returning from a short vacation, Elauntra was unable to reach her mother, sister, or 9-year-old daughter. Her mother had been caring for her 2 children while she was away. She contacted friends, hoping for information. When no one could reach them, she asked her father to check the house. Her 4-year-old son was found alone inside the home, physically unharmed, but with no sign of the rest of the family. Later, after seeing news coverage of a vehicle fire, Elauntra realized the car matched the one her mother had been driving. She contacted police and was asked to provide her daughter's dental records to assist with identification.
Elauntra, still at the airport, sent her dad to her home, and her 4-year-old son was the only one there. Then Elauntra saw the image on the news of a burned vehicle found in Detroit. Her heart sank.
And it looked like the car that my mom had been driving.
Elauntra used social media to deliver the heartbreaking news. The bodies in that vehicle belonged to her mother, Sandra Davis, her sister, Courtney Davis, and her 9-year-old daughter, Ava.
I don't know how to deal with any of this. But my mom and my sister, they were my main support system. And it's my daughter.
Elauntra says her son is autistic, and she's not sure what he saw or knows about what took place.
On April 7th, surveillance footage and license plate data place a silver Saturn Vue, registered to Edward Redding, traveling in tandem with the victim's Chevy Equinox approximately 25 minutes before the fire was reported. Police name Redding, the ex-boyfriend of Elantra's sister, as a person of interest in the case.
Well, Meredith, according to a federal complaint, investigators say they were able to track down Edward Redding's vehicle using license plate readers throughout the city. According to that complaint, detectives were able to identify Redding's vehicle traveling near the location of where the three bodies were discovered. Now, they were discovered inside a burning SUV in an alley near 30th and Milford Street. That's near I-94 and I-96.
What's still unclear is who was driving each vehicle and whether the victims were already deceased at that point. If the murders occurred earlier and the bodies were moved in the Chevy Equinox, someone would have needed to drive both cars. Whether Redding acted alone or had help is a question investigators have not yet answered. On April 7th, police attempt a traffic stop. Redding flees at high speed, eventually crashing into a median at Fort and Schaefer. He attempts to flee on foot, but is quickly arrested. A .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver is recovered from the vehicle.
According to that federal complaint, the Michigan State Police tried to stop Redding once he was located, but he fled the scene, leading police on a high-speed chase beginning in River Rouge and ending near Schaefer and 4th Street. Redding was caught quickly after trying to run from his vehicle. Investigators say they found a gun inside his car. Now, he is a convicted felon with a long criminal history, hence the firearm charges.
On April 8th, Detroit police execute a search warrant at a home on the city's east side believed to be connected to suspect Edward Redding. Inside, investigators find signs of a violent encounter, confirming suspicions that the residence may be the primary crime scene. Although a 4-year-old child had previously been found there by a family member, the home had not yet been processed by authorities until this point.
And when Tina and her family got home from church Sunday night,
the police, yellow tape, all that was up, and they were investigating.
Tuesday afternoon, investigators were back at the home on Detroit's east side. Michigan State Police confirmed to CBS News Detroit that it's connected to the homicide investigation of 3 people found burned inside of a car on Detroit's west side on Sunday. Authorities have not confirmed the names of the victims, but do say that one of them was a child.
On April 9th, Redding is charged with fleeing and eluding, resisting arrest, and felon in possession of a firearm, which is a federal charge. No homicide charges have been filed yet. On April 10th, Edward Redding appeared in federal court on the firearm charge and is ordered to remain in custody. A preliminary hearing is scheduled for April 22nd.
29-year-old Edward Redding appeared in federal court this afternoon for a detention hearing regarding a charge of being a felon in possession of a firearm. This comes as Redding remains under investigation for the killing of his ex-girlfriend, her mother, and her 9-year-old niece.
Investigators confirm that the 2 women were shot and the 9-year-old girl was stabbed before the bodies were placed in the vehicle and set on fire. That same day, a neighbor shared new information with CBS News Detroit about what they heard the night before the fire.
We also spoke to a neighbor who says that she heard arguing between a man and a woman 2 days before the same home was swarmed with police.
And she was out on the grass part saying, "Get out, get out, get out. I can't take this no more. Get out."
Tina, who did not want to give us her last name, says that's what she heard Friday morning between the woman who lives next door and another man.
The neighbor also observed the man moving items into a silver car, which aligns with the vehicle associated with Redding. On April 11th, media outlets reported that Redding had over 100 misconduct violations in prison, including assaults on staff and other inmates. His disciplinary record during incarceration raises questions about why he was released on parole in July 2024. So far, this is the timeline, but it's far from complete. Now that cause of death has been confirmed, and Redding remains in custody on federal charges. The focus shifts to one question. Will murder charges be filed, and if so, when? The man now at the center of this case is 29-year-old Edward DeLorean Redding of Detroit. Redding was not a stranger to the family or to law enforcement. According to family members, Redding was in a past relationship with Elauntra's sister, one of the 3 women believed to have been found in the burned vehicle. The relationship was described by relatives as physically abusive and volatile. Despite previous incidents, Redding reportedly remained in contact with the victim.
They have someone in custody.
Yeah.
What is this person's connection?
My sister's boyfriend. They fought and argued a lot. Just typical. I don't want to say typical, but it's not typical. Multiple occasions she tried to leave him. He wouldn't. He would always find his way back. He was on parole, and she kept saying that she didn't want him to go back to jail, so she didn't want to call his parole officer. The last time I told her about their relationship, I told her if she wanted to be done and if she was really, truly scared of him, tired of him, didn't want to be with him, that she would have to do the unfortunate thing with calling his parole officer. And she didn't. She didn't. She said that she would try to coexist with him. So I do know that they were still living together. She said on multiple occasions that they weren't together. And it's just,
was he physically abusive with her?
and they physically had multiple fights before.
Tell him about the time where he was allegedly about to kill her. Prior to that, she was in a house being strangled, and she came in to kind of like break the fight up because they live right beside each other. And Courtney swore that she would have died that day had Elauntra didn't go inside the house and break the fight up. So
Now we have three lives.
3 lives gone. Yeah. 3 generations. A twin, my mom's twin. A 9-year-old, a baby, an innocent child that did absolutely nothing to deserve that. She lost a mom, like she lost everything all in one moment.
Redding was released on parole in July 2024 after serving time for armed robbery and carjacking. At the time of his arrest in this case, he was still on parole. According to court documents, he has a history of violent offenses and was not legally permitted to possess a firearm. Redding's vehicle was captured on surveillance traveling near the victim's car shortly before the fire was reported. When officers attempted to pull him over, Redding fled at high speed, leading police on a chase before crashing and attempting to flee on foot. Police recovered a .38 caliber revolver from his vehicle, a weapon he was legally barred from possessing as a convicted felon. According to Detroit police, Redding remains the primary suspect in the triple homicide. With a prior history of violence, a confirmed connection to the victims, and surveillance placing him near the scene, Edward Redding is no longer just a person of interest. He's the one detectives are building their case around. After Redding was arrested on April 7th, investigators turned their attention to a residence on Detroit's East Side, believed to be connected to him. What they found inside turned an already disturbing case into something even more troubling. Inside the home, detectives found signs of a violent encounter, suggesting that this was the primary crime scene. While the 4-year-old boy who had been left alone had already been removed by family, police documented and collected forensic evidence that could be tied to the killings. Authorities have not disclosed what specific items were recovered, but confirmed the home showed clear signs of a struggle. Police believe this residence may have been the primary crime scene with the fire set later as an attempt to destroy evidence. The child who had been in the home was later confirmed to be Elauntra's 4-year-old son. He was found by his grandfather, Elauntra's father, unharmed but alone. Authorities have not disclosed how long he was in the home or what, if anything, he may have witnessed. If the murders occurred inside the house, the fire may have been a cover-up, an attempt to erase what happened before anyone could ask questions. But the presence of a child in that space raises new concerns. How long had the child been left there? Did they witness anything? And what happens to that child now? These are the questions authorities are still working to answer. While authorities have identified a suspect and confirmed the victims were killed before the fire, several critical questions remain. At this time, no one has been charged with murder, and parts of the case remain unsettled. 1. Who was driving? Which vehicle? Surveillance footage shows Edward Redding's silver Saturn Vue traveling near the victim's Chevy Equinox approximately 25 minutes before the fire was reported. The Equinox, later found engulfed in flames, contained the bodies of the 2 women and the 9-year-old girl. Investigators believe the victims were killed inside the home, then placed in the vehicle, which was later set on fire in an attempt to destroy evidence. This raises a key question. If Redding was driving one vehicle, who was driving the other? Could there have been an accomplice, or was the surveillance footage captured before the murders, with the victims still alive? Investigators have not publicly answered this, and the timeline remains uncertain. Adding to the mystery, Redding has given conflicting statements to police about the firearm found in his vehicle, first denying knowledge of the gun, then later admitting he fled because of it. These contradictions suggest he is not fully cooperating with investigators. 2. The complete timeline of the murders. The neighbor's report of a heated argument inside the home the night before the fire supports the theory that the murders occurred on April 5th or early April 6th. But beyond that, the precise sequence of events, including the moment of death and timing of transport, remains unclear. 3. Why no murder charges yet? Despite identifying a suspect, locating the likely crime scene, and recovering a weapon, police have only filed charges for fleeing and eluding, resisting arrest, and felon in possession of a firearm. Authorities continue to describe Redding as the primary suspect, but homicide charges have not yet been filed. No timeline has been shared on when or if they will be. 4. What did the 4-year-old witness? The 4-year-old boy, identified as Elauntra's son, was found alone inside the home by his grandfather after the family stopped responding. It remains unknown how long he was alone, or whether he witnessed anything that could help investigators understand what happened inside that house. Even with answers about cause of death and the location of the murders, the full story remains incomplete. And until those gaps are filled, justice, for 3 generations of one family, remains unfinished. As news of the triple homicide spread, the Detroit community responded with grief, outrage, and urgency. The fire may have happened in one neighborhood, but its impact has rippled across the city. In interviews, Elauntra confirmed that her sister's relationship with Redding had been physically abusive.
You can describe Ava for me.
It's okay. She was amazing. The best daughter you probably could have asked for. Funny, smart, witty, sassy.
She said she wanted to be a gymnast, gymnast,
gymnastics, arts and crafts. And she was just a great kid all around. I never had, this was just my baby girl.
Okay, and your mom, your sister?
My mom and my sister, those were my biggest support systems. Anytime I ever needed them, I could always call on them. My mom, she's a mom. She's always there. And my sister, always there. Any call, just always there.
My family to be remembered. I want this to be something that doesn't just go swept under the rug.
And a community is grieving the loss of a family of 3 after they were found dead inside of a burnt car last week. CBS News Detroit's
neighbors gathered here on Detroit's east side to honor the lives of the 3 victims killed last Sunday.
It's a big tragedy. It's a big loss for my family, and I don't want it to just be a thing and then they're just forgotten.
Dozens of people lined the streets of Frankfort and Chalmers to remember Sandra Davis, her daughter Courtney Davis, and her granddaughter Ava Sutton.
We all grew up as siblings, so it's really like a handful of us, 10 maybe. And so to lose 3,
it's like everybody.
It's like our whole life.
A GoFundMe campaign has been launched by Elauntra Sutton to help cover funeral expenses and support her young son in the wake of this unimaginable loss. Hundreds of donors have contributed, many leaving messages of solidarity and demands for justice. To support the family, you can find the link in the video description. This wasn't just a domestic incident. It was a multi-victim homicide that appears to involve a history of abuse, a failure to separate safely, and a system that couldn't or didn't intervene in time. And now, Elauntra has lost her daughter, her sister, and her mother in a single act of violence. She's now left to raise her young son in the shadow of that loss. A family is left without answers, and a community is left to wonder how many more signs we might have missed. At this point, 3 lives have been lost. A suspect has been named. Evidence has been recovered. But the most serious charges, murder, have not yet been filed. As police continue to work the case, the Sutton family and the public are waiting for answers. What exactly happened inside that house? Why were the victims moved and burned? And what role did a documented history of abuse play in how this unfolded? We will continue to monitor this story and report any major updates as they become available. Because when the facts are still unfolding, our job isn't to tell the full story. It's to share with you what we know and what still needs to be uncovered. This has been Under Investigation. And as always, until next time, stay safe.